Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to go ahead and dive into the starter sets for Season 28. I'm currently stuck in the queue to play on the PTR, and so I thought now's as good a time as any to make a video. Starting off with the Demon Hunter, we're going to be getting the Gears of the Dreadlands set. I'm a little bit surprised that we're getting this set because it seems like for the other classes, they're primarily getting the set that was buffed for them this season, and so I was thinking we might get Unhallowed Essence or Natalia's because of the rework. Granted, I believe the Season 27 starter set for Demon Hunter was Unhallowed Essence, and so I was kind of thinking it might be Natalia's, but it turns out they're going to go with Gears of the Dreadland. Some of my early impressions from the PTR is that it looks like Demon Hunter is going to be the best class to start your season with. I do think that Necromancer is a close second right now, and of course it is the PTR, so everything is subject to change, and other builds may get buffed up a little bit further and make them a little more appealing for your season starter. Even though I'm sure most Demon Hunter players would rather get the Natalia set to start with, Gears of the Dreadland is phenomenal for speed content, and it is going to allow us to very quickly farm out the items that we need to move over to our spike trap builds. Based on everything that I've been seeing on the PTR so far, it looks like Natalia's is going to be pretty comparable to the Strafe and Pale Demon Hunter that we had in Season 27. After only 24 hours of the PTR, it looks like people are already comfortably farming GR 120s in about 3 minutes or less with this Natalia's build. The Demon Hunter is also a great choice for your season starter as well, because the Natalia's build is going to be focused on strafing, and it's going to play in a really similar way to how the Strafe and Pale Demon Hunter did. The Spike Trap build is currently getting abused on the PTR because people are using 2 pieces of the Shadows set, and it is giving them a 6,000% damage multiplier to the Spike Trap when it shouldn't be. Now, I haven't been able to get onto the PTR yet today, but my guess is that if it's not already fixed, it'll probably be fixed really soon. There were a few players that had already cleared GR 150s in only about 5 or so minutes playing the Natalia's Demon Hunter with 2 pieces of the Shadows set. I would venture to say that there's absolutely no chance that that's going to make it into the final version of the game when we launch at Season 28. But not only is Natalia's looking incredibly appealing for Demon Hunters in Season 28, the ZDH is absolutely still going to have its place in the group meta, and so I would highly encourage you to consider playing a DH in Season 28. Coming in right behind the Demon Hunter, I would have to go with the Necromancer. With the buff to the Masquerade of the Burning Carnival, returning it to nearly its former glory. It used to have a 10,000% multiplier on the 6-piece set. They're moving it back up to 9,000 and giving Simulacrums triple the damage bonus. Necromancer's also a great start because, of course, you can get into those group metas where you can do rat runs either as a rat necro or a Z necro. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a build for the Necromancer currently that is abusing the skill Leech with Blood Flask, and it's effectively letting you spam your potion over and over and chain conduit pylons. For anybody considering playing a Necromancer for this reason, I would urge you to reconsider or at least check the patch notes at the end of the PTR, because it is highly unlikely that this makes it through to Season 28's launch. Moving on to the Monk, I also think that the Monk has a pretty good starter set this season with the Patterns of Justice, especially given its buff from the 15,000% multiplier to the 20,000%. Despite that we're losing the Angelic Crucible effects from Season 27, LOD Wave of Light should still remain an S tier pushing build in Season 28. One downside to starting with the Monk, however, is that it is going to take you quite a bit of time to go from the Patterns of Justice over to the Wave of Light build, given how gear intensive it is and how much cooldown you have to stack and your reliance on getting ancient items as well. But outside of the transition period between Patterns of Justice and Wave of Light taking a bit of time, I ultimately think that Monk is also a great class to consider starting your Season 28 with. Moving on to Wizard, Wizards are going to be starting with the Typhon's Veil. This was just changed. It was buffed from a 2,000% multiplier up to a 4,000% multiplier. Tal Rasha Meteor is also going to be a build that absolutely stays around on S tier despite the loss of the Angelic Crucible power, granting 10 magic missiles. The only downside to starting with Wizard is despite the Typhon's buff, I still don't think that this is going to be a particularly great set for speed farming content to quickly transition over to the Tal Rasha Meteor build. But starting with a wizard still looks a little bit tempting because, of course, at some point in Season 28, I definitely want to try the buffed Typhon set. Despite that it's a little bit slower, this is still a class that I would recommend you could consider to start your Season 28 with. Next up is the Barbarian, and the Horde of the 90 Savages build looks like an absolute blast. When you look at the build on paper, it doesn't look like it would be all that great for speed content, but so far from what I've seen out of the PTRs, that people are actually able to get through lower to mid-tier GRs pretty quickly with it. On top of that, Barbarians are always going to be demanded in groups for the Z-Barb role, and getting geared out for that should not take you too long. You also have a great pushing set in the Raker Boulder Toss build, and so I really do think that Barbarian has a lot of potential in this season for both solo and group play, and I would definitely consider starting your Season 28 with the Barbarian. Okay, and moving on to the last two classes, the rejects of Season 28, the classes that I would highly recommend you reconsider if you are thinking about starting with one of these builds. First, let's start with the Crusader. The Crusader is going to be starting with the Aegis of Valor set, which is fairly decent for doing speed content at lower GR tiers and in T16 by playing the Fist of the Heavens build. One note that I will make is that I personally don't feel like Aegis of Valor Heaven's Fury is nearly as good as it used to be ever since the nerf to the Norvald set, taking it from a 400% multiplier following your Steed Charge ability down to a 200% multiplier. For this reason, if you do choose to go with the Crusader, I would recommend trying to transition over to the Akan build relatively quickly. But ultimately, I really feel like the Crusader is going to struggle to keep up in Paragon levels with the other classes. On top of that, there's nothing that was changed about the Crusader class in the patch notes, and we are going from a Crusader that had this incredible ability in Season 27 with the Angelic Crucible for Fist of the Heavens, and we are effectively just stripping it of that. This is ultimately really going to harm the Crusader and its ability to run speed content at a reasonably high GR level. And last, and probably least, is going to be the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor is going to be starting with the Mundanugu set, which does have some potential for lower tier speed content and T16 speeds, but ultimately just doesn't look like the class is being developed or changed enough to really incentivize people to have an interest. It's pretty agreed upon by the community right now that Witch Doctor really needs something else to kind of amp it up to the level of the other classes. Especially considering how many sets they buffed this season, it's really surprising to see that the Witch Doctor got absolutely no love whatsoever. Although I will say Eric here Spiders looks potentially decent for pushing, I still don't even think that that compares to what the other classes have this season. Similar to the Crusader, I think that you're going to struggle with Paragon farming if you opt to go with this class, and I also think that you're going to struggle to achieve the same GR tier unless you put in substantially more effort. I don't have too much to say about the Witch Doctor other than it seems stale and underwhelming in Season 28. Hopefully the buffs that you get from the Altar of Rites are enough should you choose to go with the Witch Doctor, but even with all of those, I don't think that the Witch Doctor is going to be anything too impressive. Well guys, as you can see, I finally made it through this PTR queue, and so I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know which class you're going to be starting Season 28 with. As always, I really appreciate you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.